more uproar today over the finalist to be the next police chief in Seattle.
Members of the search committee and community leaders say the interim chief, Carmen, was not given a fair shot. King 5's Chris Daniels here now to explain.
Yeah, Lori and Mark, Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan getting calls today to restart the process to replace Kathleen O'Toole, and it is coming from prominent members of the local community and, surprisingly, the police union. They're upset that Carmen, a longtime Seattle police officer who rose the ranks to interim chief, was not given more serious consideration. She was one of 5 finalists, but not one of the final 3 who will receive interviews. The search committee leaders said an outsider is needed to lead the department. Here's what Louise Czernin, head of the Greater Seattle Business Association, had to say about it this afternoon, along with Seattle's Police Guild president and Mayor Durkan.
It was very upsetting. It was our only internal candidate, our only woman candidate, not to mention an African-American woman candidate who suddenly disappeared from the list, or that's how it felt.
There seems to be a lot of support from the rank and file for Chief Best. Why is there that kind of support from the rank and file for Chief Best? It seems like that's rare in Seattle politics and Seattle history, that there'd be so much support for the chief.
Think about that. You're talking about you have support from community activists, and the rank and file police department. I don't know of another time in the history of this department, at least in the 23 years that I've been a police officer, when you had someone who could actually walk both of those sides.
She has told me, and we had discussions with it, obviously she's disappointed, but she says she is moving on and she is focused on how we work together as a city to do the things as she's going to be doing as chief, and I will be doing with her. And then she is going to do everything she can to support the new chief of police, get on board. And she has agreed, and I have agreed, that it would be good for her to stay on. So her plan is to stay on.
That certainly sounds like Durkan closing the door on Best. The 3 finalists right now, 3 men from Pittsburgh, Austin, and Minneapolis. There is some precedent here, however, for Durkan to change course. It happened back in 1994 when then Seattle Mayor Norm Rice ignored the recommendation of his search committee to select Norm Stamper.
So, Chris, it seems people seem to be most upset that Carmen wasn't at least included on this list of finalists.
Yeah, it seems like that's what we heard quite a bit this afternoon, at least to get that courtesy designation. It happened back in 2010. You may recall when interim chief John Diaz made the cut, and after the believed front runner dropped out, he ascended to the top cop role a few years later. Diaz retired, and there was no insider candidate to make it to the final 3, and that's what brought Seattle Kathleen O'Toole.
Wow. Any timeline, Chris, on when we're going to know for sure?
Well, what we heard last Friday was that Mayor Durkan is expected to make her selection at the end of June or early July. That will go then to the Seattle City Council. Some of the people who we talked to today went to the council to protest, make their voices heard. So we'll see if anything changes. But right now it appears that Seattle is focused, the search committee and Mayor Durkan, on those 3 men from outside Seattle.